Good evening. Welcome to the Planning Commission meeting for Monday, September 22nd. I now call the meeting to order. If you will follow Commissioner Martinez, we'll do our Pledge of Allegiance.
Please rise and say with me, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
Under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
thank you, Commissioner. And will you please do the voice roll call?
Chair Harlan is absent. Vice Chair Zick?
Here.
Commissioner Rojas?
Here.
Commissioner Klepak?
Here.
Commissioner Andrade?
Here.
Commissioner Dixon is absent, but will be here later. Commissioner Martinez?
Here.
Thank you. We have no announcements or presentations tonight, which takes us to public comments. Public comments will be heard at this time on items that are not on our agenda, but are within our jurisdiction. I'll open public comment. If you'd like to speak, please come to the podium. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. If you're on Zoom, please raise your hand. And if you're on the phone, please press *9 to enter the queue. Do we have any members of the public that wish to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Monica McDade, and I've been a Costa Mesa resident most of my life. I live directly behind the property and have been a renter there for 19 years.
Which property?
The property that this notice was sent.
Okay, we will cover that as one of our agenda items, and then we'll invite you back up to speak on it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anna, do we have anyone on Zoom?
No, we do not, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right, I'll close public comment then. And this is a time for Planning Commissioner comments and suggestions. I'll start with Commissioner Rojas.
I have no comments tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Klepak?
None for me.
Commissioner Andrade?
Yes. First, I wanted to congratulate the city for an amazing culmination of what I hear was an amazing culmination of Art Venture. My family and I got to participate in the wonderful activities that were happening at Lions Park. I unfortunately missed the culmination at Acoma, but I'm sure it was lovely. But again, just really excited that another fantastic event took place. And just a reminder of the community, please follow our social media. There's so many great events and opportunities to connect with your local neighbors, build community through the events that are coming up. I know September 27th is a celebration of Hispanic Heritage Month. Come enjoy some Latin flavors, music, and food. That's all.
Thank you for that. Commissioner Martinez?
Thank you. To continue on with some of the events, yes, Hispanic Heritage Month celebration is going to be at Lions Park from 10 to 2. While you're there, you can also check out the Art Venture exhibit. That is the last day to check it out at the Norma Herzog Community Center. So do go. Also that day, Saturday the 27th, will be a community e-bike skills workshop, also from 10 to 2. This is going to be at T. Winkle Middle School. For any NMUSD students, any parents who want to teach their kids how to properly ride an e-bike, make sure to head to that event. And in case you're not busy enough, on the 27th, the OC Pride Festival will be going on at the OC Fairgrounds, just across the street from here. On October 1st, on Wednesday, October 1st, the Costa Mesa Sanitary District will host their Eco Expo at their headquarters. That will be from 2 to 6:30. Learn about how to properly use your green bins and such. And on Saturday, October 11th, again at Lions Park, will be the Scarecrow Festival, the annual Scarecrow Festival. So please do go and check that out. And finally, on September 30th, we have two important surveys closing for us here in the planning department. The Neighborhoods Where We All Belong survey is going to close that day, and the survey for the Climate Action and Adaptation Plan. Both those close that day, so please get your responses in. We want your feedback on those two very important issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Dixon, any comments or suggestions?
Quickly, and apologies for being late, we having a remodel happening, had to talk to my contractor. I don't know if this was mentioned because I was late, but there is a safe routes to school survey online at the city websites as well. And, you know, we always talk about engagement up here, and we'd like to see much more engagement. So if you are walking your kids to school or driving your kids to school or biking your kids to school, however you get your kids to school, that survey is pretty important because it'll let the city know how people are actually doing it. It's a little bit of a complicated website. You have to go on a map and draw stuff, and I'm going to see if we can make it a little simpler, but I really strongly suggest going to the city's website and look for Safe Routes to School survey. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. And I have no comments tonight. Which brings us to the consent calendar. We have one consent calendar item tonight. All matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine, will be acted on in one motion. Be no separate discussion of these items unless pulled by commissioner, staff, or the public. I don't believe this item has been pulled. Okay.
No, it has not.
Anna, do you want to read this item in?
Consent calendar item number 1, September 8th, 2025, unofficial meeting minutes.
Thank you. And can I get a motion?
I move to approve with an amendment to Director Cheyenne Wright's name and to spell it correctly.
All right. Do we have a second? Commissioner Dixon, second. Any comments?
No.
Call for the question.
That motion carries 6-0.
All right. Thank you. We have 2 public hearings tonight. Anna, will you please read the title for public hearing item number 1?
Public hearing item number 1, conditional use permit PCUP-25-0017 to allow outdoor storage of motor vehicles, tow trucks, and employee vehicles at 2648 Newport Boulevard. Please note we have received public comments on this item. This is a call for any ex parte communications.
Thank you. Commissioners? Anything? All right. I visited the site. That's the only thing I have to report. I'll turn it over to Mr. Arias for his presentation.
Thank you. Good evening, Vice Chair Commissioners. Justin Arias, Associate Planner. As Anna described, the item before you is a request for a conditional use permit to allow outdoor storage of motor vehicles at 2648 Newport Boulevard. The project site is located on the southeast side of the one-way northbound Newport Boulevard, mid-block between Delmar Avenue and Mesa Drive. The property has a zoning designation of C1 local business and has a general plan land use designation of commercial residential. It is also located within the Newport Boulevard specific plan. Properties to the north and south have similar commercial zoning and land use designations, with both properties being developed with hotel and motel uses. The properties to the west are zoned multifamily residential medium density, R2MD, with a medium density residential land use designation, and are developed with multifamily residential developments. Southside Towing's main office and tow yard is located at 1643 Placentia Avenue, approved by a minor conditional use permit, which allowed a towing service and impound yard, as well as a conditional use permit, which allowed for vehicle auctions. The tow company also has active tow yards in the cities of Orange and the city of Lake Forest. The proposed use of this site, 2648 Newport Boulevard, would be for the vehicle storage of tow trucks and tow truck drivers' vehicles. Additionally, the existing building is proposed to be used for secured storage, such as miscellaneous items from impounded vehicles. Also, the site will not be open to the public, nor will any offices be located at the property. Pursuant to code, a conditional use permit is being requested to allow outdoor storage of motor vehicles, not including an impound yard, for Southside Towing for the property located at 2648 Newport Boulevard. As shown on the slide, a site plan was provided demonstrating that the site, with proposed site improvements, can accommodate the code-required 15 parking spaces. Tow truck drivers will come and go throughout the day to pick up their tow trucks for their shift. They would park their personal vehicles on-site while working, returning at the end of their shift to exchange their tow trucks for their personal vehicles. Additionally, as part of the proposed project, the applicant is proposing to rebuild the sidewalk curb gutter along the street frontage with new concrete driveway and drive approach per city standards, which has already been completed as shown in the slide above. It also includes the installation of new landscaping along the street setback area and around the property, as well as installing a new block wall with motorized gates, and refinishing the asphalt pavement internally and adding parking wheel stops. Based on staff's analysis, the proposed use is compatible with the surrounding commercial and residential areas, as its operations would be similar in character to an outdoor vehicle storage with associated tow company. With the incorporation of the recommended operational conditions, which are highlighted on the slide before you, the proposed use would not result in undue impacts to the surrounding properties. The use is limited to storage of tow trucks and employee vehicles and would function primarily as a parking lot. The project would not generate unusual noise, traffic, or parking impacts beyond those typically associated with commercially zoned properties. Additionally, the proposed use is consistent with the city's general plan, commercial residential land use designations, intended land uses, and complies with the applicable development standards of the zoning code. Pursuant to code, the 3 types of public notification were completed for this public hearing item. As of the date of this report, August 18th, 1 written public comment was received and was attached to the staff report. As an alternative to the staff's recommendation, the Planning Commission may approve the project with modifications. The Planning Commission may suggest specific changes that are necessary to alleviate concerns. If any of the additional requested changes are substantial, the item should be continued to a future meeting to allow a redesign or additional analysis. In the event of significant modifications to the proposal, staff will return with a revised resolution incorporating new findings and/or conditions of approval. Alternatively, the Planning Commission may deny the project. If the Planning Commission believes that there is insufficient facts to support the findings for approval, the Planning Commission must deny the application, provide facts in support of the denial, and or direct staff to incorporate the findings for resolution for denial. If the project is denied, the applicant could not submit a substantially same type of application for 6 months. With that, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission find that the project is categorically exempt from the provisions of the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, per CEQA guidelines section 15301, class 1 for existing facilities, and approved conditional use permit PCUP 25-0017 based on the facts and subject to the conditions of approval by adopting the attached resolution. That concludes staff's presentation, and we are available for any questions. The applicant and business owner are also available for any questions the commission may have.
Thank you, Mr. Arias. Excellent presentation. Commissioners, any questions for staff?
I do, I think.
Mr. Dixon, Commissioner Dixon, please.
Thank you so much for that presentation. I appreciate it. I see that there's landscape plans, partial landscape plans included in the plan. Don't we typically have a condition of approval that the landscape plans will be reviewed and approved by the director of the that, I don't see that in here.
So, and I think the general condition of approval you're referring to is that the landscape plan shall be submitted as a separate plan check submittal. I don't recall if that was copied over into the code requirements.
I didn't see it, but I just want to make sure. I wasn't
Yeah, we can
missing it.
definitely make sure that gets copied over. I
Okay.
know that's definitely in our residential project, so that was an oversight by staff.
Okay, and then due to the operational characteristics, is this not something that would typically be subject to hours of operation? I know towing is typically a 24-hour deal, and it says no backup alarms, no extended period of idling. I just want to get a better feel for what's going to be happening at 4 o'clock in the morning. Do you know, or should I ask the applicant?
Yeah, that might be better for the applicant. I don't believe there's anything that would necessarily restrict when an hour or a business could operate, but I don't believe that is the intent for this business.
And then if they intended to use this as, and it would be reasonable, I would assume, as to wash the vehicles when they're being stored, is that something that was considered in this application, and would that require?
It was not considered. I believe we would want to consider that as part of the proposal, just for drainage and water usage and that sort of stuff. So potentially, if they did want to do that, that would potentially, at least how this was written, would potentially trigger an amendment to the approval to allow that type of use.
Okay, so if we wanted to include that now, we would talk to the applicant about that, because that may have impacts for WCAMP or any of that stuff.
Correct.
Okay. All right, thank you. Those are my questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Martinez.
Thank you. I wanted to follow up on landscaping first. Do commercial businesses, do we have landscaping requirements for commercial businesses, like minimum number of trees, such, things like that?
Correct, yes. The landscape section of the code does apply to both residential, commercial, and industrial properties.
Okay. Since that wasn't in here, can you remind me what the minimum number of trees is, for example? Let's go with that.
Give me a second to pull it up. It varies depending on the specific project. It's, I believe it's based on the landscaped area, but let me pull that up.
While you're looking for that, let me ask, or do you have an answer?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I have it right here now. So commercial zones. Oh, sorry. I think I had the wrong one.
Okay, let me go for a legal question. Are we allowed to prohibit backup alarms? Isn't that like a safety feature? Is that something that we're allowed to prohibit?
Backup alarms could certainly be regulated as a condition in the CUP to avoid nuisance activities or avoid disturbing the surrounding tenants or neighbors.
Okay, thank you.
And then I do have that section of the
yes.
code up. So for the tree count, it's one tree, 15-gallon or larger, shall be provided for every 200 square feet of landscaped area. We also have an additional requirement for canopy trees to be installed throughout parking areas at a ratio of 1 per 6 parking spaces.
So does this comply with that requirement?
I believe so. Conceptually, yes.
Okay, because I know it also looked like the only proposal here was for palms, which count only for half of a tree in our code.
Correct, yes, and that is part of the details that would be finalized through the plan check process. These plans at this point are more conceptual landscape plans, and the finer details and all the requirements will be fully vetted through the plan check process.
So
Commissioner Martinez, these plans have not been reviewed for full compliance. They're provided as conceptual. And as Commissioner Dixon mentioned, the condition of approval will require that compliance will be provided prior to the issuance of permits.
Fantastic. And let me just get this one on the record. Pedestrian access, if ever needed, is that provided?
Correct. Our building department did review the proposed wall and access to the public area, and it does meet those requirements.
Okay.
Although I should also clarify, this use is not intended to be open to the public.
Yeah. Thank you. Those are my questions.
Any other commissioners with questions?
Not a question per se, but just building upon the previous commissioners, just ensuring that the maximum number of trees can be provided in the areas, considering, right, that these are multiple parking spots. So, and it looks like it's just, I don't know what the FNG code stands for. I don't know if that's just, it doesn't seem like tall enough to provide that kind of level of privacy between the separating wall to the adjacent property. Anyways, so just more trees on it, since it's a whole lot of concrete, just to keep it cool.
Is that it? Thank you, Commissioner Andrade. All right, I'll open the public hearing now. Ask whether the applicant or applicant's representative is present. Would you please come to either of the podiums? And if you could start by stating your name.
My name is David Padua. I'm the owner of Southside Towing.
Thank you, David. Have you read the staff report and the conditions of approval, and do you agree with them?
Yes.
Great. Floor is yours if you'd like to make a brief presentation.
Sure. We plan on just storing our vehicles there. We are a 24-hour business, but we run in a bigger shift during the daytime. Our drivers will come in, pick up a vehicle, park their vehicle, and will immediately leave. The drivers actually stage. I'm sure you've seen them sitting here at the fair, Home Depot. We only have 15 minutes to get to a Costa Mesa police call and 20 minutes to get to CHP or to get to Newport Beach. So the weeks we're on Costa Mesa, we're spread out throughout the city. No one's going to sit in the yard. And if they are sitting in the yard, they would sit in our main yard. At our main yard, that's where we wash our trucks. We actually have a system that collects the water, filters the water, and the water actually goes back into the landscaping. So our trucks will not be washed there. It's just a storage facility. As far as creating a barrier between me and the hotels, we plan on putting Indian laurels, and we plan on putting them every 4 feet. It's kind of like Mesa, the golf course, where it creates that nice big wall. So I want to have a green wall between me and the hotel. The hotel Best Western, they want to plant them on their side because they sit higher up, and they'll maintain their one side, and I'll maintain the other side if we get it approved. So it's pretty much every 4 feet to 3 feet, and it's just going to create a big wall. We have a building that separates us from the residents behind us. We also plan on putting Indian laurels on that back wall. There were trees back there prior to us purchasing the property, but Edison removed them because they're too big and they're getting too close to the lines. So those ones were removed, but we plan on lining that back between us and the residents so they won't be able to see in, creating more like a green area for us too. Does staff have any other questions for me?
So we will have questions. Who's the gentleman that's with you?
Okay.
Steve Hartman, I'm the landscape architect that drew the plans.
Great, thank you, Mr. Hartman. Commissioners, any questions of the applicant? Mr. Martinez.
Yes, just one. I wanted to ask about where do your employees report to? Is it like they go to your main office and then to this place, go out, back to this place, and back to the main office? What's the procedure for how they'll get to this location?
So the employee will actually come to this location, get his truck, park his truck, his personal vehicle in the same spot, he leaves. Then the employee will then go and stage in the city somewhere. If we're on Costa Mesa, he'll sit in this parking lot right here. He might sit at Tinwinkle Park. He might sit at Home Depot. We also do AAA in the city, and this is kind of our service area. So you'll see our trucks just sitting in various parking lots staged throughout the city. And then when their shift's over, they'll return. And if they do wash their vehicle, it's generally after they've done an accident. They come to our main facility, wash their bed off. We have a catch basin with filters. We actually are probably the best filter system in the city, is what I've been told when it was inspected. And then we pre-filter everything, we clean that out. Then we have a 3-stage filter system. And then we have another filter system that pumps the water into the landscaping. So we have 0 runoff. And the plants, they eat everything. All the oil, all the antifreeze. Our trees are beautiful and growing from it all.
All right, so there's no like back and forth between the main facility and this proposed location?
Shift in, shift out.
Wonderful, okay, thank you.
And we only have one semi-truck with the backup. I could just put a switch on it, we could turn it off.
That's it. I've got a couple questions for you. So this 4,000 square foot building that is on the property, and the staff report indicates that is to store miscellaneous items from impounded vehicles.
It's actually to store vehicles that are on long-term case for the police departments. So the child that was killed here in Tinwinkle Park 4 years ago, we still have that vehicle.
The vehicle is in that building?
No, it's in our main facility. But the police department will require a vehicle to be inside storage until the case is over. So we're having to store vehicles for longer period of times just because of cases and so on and so on. But that's just going to be an inside evidence for the police department. We lock it and we don't go in there.
You're talking about the building on Newport?
Yes. So the building inside will just be an evidence hold for the city of Costa Mesa. And no one will go in it. Only the police department will go in it. Once the vehicle has been processed, it just gets locked up and it could sit there for 5 years, 6 years until the case is over.
Got it. Okay, that answers my question.
It's just to prevent the elements from, if there's any crucial paint transfer, any evidence inside from the elements getting to it.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioners, any further questions? Commissioner Klepek?
Question for the landscape architect. The Indian laurels, those I believe are highly invasive and can be toxic. Any concern about those choking out other nearby trees?
No.
No?
I mean, they're planted all over the place. They do have a root system, but they're not the Ficus benjamina, which has a heavy root system that people see ficus, the big trees, and they go, oh no, that's going to go everywhere. The Indian laurels don't have as massive of a root system. As far as invasive, I have never heard or experienced that.
Okay.
That's kind of a new one to me. They are used, they call them the Hollywood hedge. They're a nice, tall, green hedge. To answer the commissioner's question earlier, that is the FNG. It's ficus knitted, a green gem. That's what that code is. Those can get, if you let them go, about 20 feet for a hedge. You can keep them anywhere from probably 6 to 8 feet at a minimum up to 20, and they're a great, solid green hedge.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right, I will now open the public comments. If you'd like to speak to this item, please come to either podium. If you're on Zoom, please use the raise hand up option. And if you're joining the meeting on your phone and would like to speak, please press *9. Anyone in chambers wish to speak on this item? Welcome back.
Thank you. Try this again. Monica McDade, longtime Costa Mesa resident. I'm here representing the 7 units that are directly behind this property. I was laughing because of the trees. I did not get notification that the 3 very large trees in my backyard were going to be removed, and came home and it was very bright and a little bit warmer than it has been for the last 19 years of living there. Am I to understand that there will be 24 hours of operation? And we appreciate the no backing up beeping, but what kind of traffic is anticipated, being that we are family residences? And also, I had heard that there was going to be a new block wall construction along the back wall, because when the trees were removed, there was damage to our fencing, which is the opposite of the building that the gentlemen were referring to. So if I could get some clarification on those, it would be greatly appreciated.
Appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone on Zoom?
No, we do not, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Padua, any closing comments or responses to comments?
Yes, prior to us buying the property, Edison actually removed the trees with the previous owner. The trees were growing into the fence. It's a wood fence, and we were just going to, once they didn't take out the stump, we have to take out the stump. We plan on just replacing the boards that were cut to the shape of the tree. But we plan on putting the ficus there, creating a wall so that the neighbors won't be able to see into it. The ficus should grow probably 2 feet a year.
Yeah, that's.
And we're going to start off with 6-foot ficus, 7-foot ficus. So within a couple of years, it's just going to be a big Hollywood wall that they won't even see into the property. The back of the property actually is set back 25 feet, and then you have the building. As far as the noise, they won't even hear anything because our trucks are parking to the front of the property. So you have a 4,000 square foot building that shields all the noise, and then you're going to have all these plants that are going to shield the noise and the view as well. We plan on just replacing the couple pieces where they were cut, and we will work with the landlord next door. But the fence is just a wood fence. It's not a block wall.
Okay, thank you, sir.
I have another question for the applicant.
Oh, go ahead, please.
And just to, you had described your drivers would just come, drop off their car. I'm assuming they're going to have a key fob or something to get in the gate, and then they would pick up their truck and drive away.
Yes.
And you were saying primarily your heavier shifts are during the day. So
Yes.
for like on a typical weekend from 10 p.m. until 7 a.m., how many ins and outs would that be?
There probably won't be any ins and outs because the guys are going to pick up their trucks at the beginning of their shift, which could be 8 o'clock at night, and then they're going to sit in our main yard. We only run 3 drivers at night.
Okay.
There's not a lot of stuff that happens at night. Occasional DUI, occasional accident. We only impound maybe 6 cars a night with Newport, Costa Mesa. A lot of our stuff is AAA. In the middle of the night, might be 1. It's pretty quiet at night.
Okay.
But we still have to be there in 15 minutes. So they sit at our main yard, they wash their trucks, and they stand by over there. They're not going to be standing by. This is pick up, drop off. If the police department has a vehicle, once it's at our main office and we start filling up, we're just going to use this as an overflow inside evidence, and the police department may come to it once the case goes to trial. They might come down with the district attorney, the city attorney, just to look at the vehicle to see that it's safe, look at all the damage on it, and that's it.
And I know that in some other tow yards where we've had, and this is not going to be where you're going to be dropping the vehicles, right? It's only for that inside storage.
Inside storage of vehicles for the police department, and then we're going to keep our personal vehicles when the drivers switch out to their equipment.
Great, thank you.
But from the residence, like from the residence house, we're talking probably 100 feet.
Yeah, to the front of the building.
Yeah, just to the front of the building. And then the trucks are going to be parked more towards Newport Boulevard. So the trucks are going to be probably 200 to 300 feet away from them with a big 20-foot building. So they won't even hear any noise.
Thank you, sir. All right, I'm going to close public
Excuse me, Mr. Vice Chair, I did have a question.
for the applicant.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I just wanted to get clarification because I kind of see the comment that the citizen was making here, and I just wanted to get clarity on it. It says, installation of new block wall with motorized gate.
That's on the front of the property.
Front end, right? So, 'cause
Yes.
I just wanted to clarify. I
Yes.
saw that, but I wanted to make
Yes.
sure everybody understood what that new block wall was referring to.
The back wall is actually a newish wood block or wood fence.
Right.
So-
Just wanted to clear that for the record.
We probably are only going to replace maybe 6 slats And if you just look at, they were just cut because the tree was growing into their property, but was primarily on this property.
Roger
One
that.
of the conditions before we close the property is that, hey, the property had to be cleaned up, and they had to make sure the trees were growing into the lines, had to be removed, or whatever Edison wanted. Edison took them out.
Got it. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. All right, now I'll close the public comment portion of the public hearing. Commissioners, any further questions of staff? No? Okay, I will close public hearing, and may I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion, but it's not letting me push the button, so.
All right, we've got it. Commissioner Dixon, what's your motion?
I will move that the Planning Commission find that the project is exempt from the provisions of the California Environmental Quality Act pursuant to Section 15301, existing facilities, and approve conditional use permit PCUP-25-0017 based on the findings of fact and subject to the conditions of approval with a modification to the conditions of approval to add the standard condition regarding the landscape plan approval by planning staff, and then also to strike the word lien from condition of approval number 10, just don't have any sales of any kind. That's my motion.
Second.
Thank you. Would you like to speak to your motion, Commissioner Dixon?
Yes, thank you for getting rid of some sort of an eyesore since that piano business closed. I think that the new landscaping in the block wall will be a good use. I was initially concerned about potential noise impacts to the residents behind, but I think with the conditions of approval and the operational characteristics you've described, I don't think that's going to be an issue. I do think the landscaping will be an improvement to that area in general. I think if you drive up and down Newport Boulevard in that upper part, you'll see some places that are desperately in need of renewal. And this will be a step in that direction. And so I appreciate your application, and thank you very much.
Commissioner Martinez, do you want to speak to your second?
Sure. I appreciate the shorter driveway length. That'll be better for the sidewalk there. Also agree on the landscaping. And to the point of what trees and such are on the site, I'll note that I believe the council, and by this point the planning commission has made clear, not really big fans of palms. So as much as we can in that landscaping plan to include some evergreen trees as the code suggests. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioners want to speak to this motion? All right, Anna, I call for the question.
That motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. And that decision is final unless appealed to the City Council within 7 days. Anna, would you please read the title for public hearing item number 2?
Public hearing item number 2. An appeal of the denial of a request for reasonable accommodation, PRAC-25-0002, for relief from certain land use requirements of the zoning code to operate a sober living home operated by the Ohio House at 115 East Wilson Street, Units A through E. Please note we have not received public comments on this item. This is a call for any ex parte communications.
Thank you. Commissioner Rojas, anything?
I have none to report.
Commissioner Klepak?
None.
Commissioner Andrade?
Yes, I drove by the property, and I also spoke to the applicant and city staff regarding the application.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Martinez? None. Commissioner Dixon?
Just conversations with staff.
Okay, and I too visited the site. I also visited 165 East Wilson. I reviewed the original Planning Commission meeting of February 11th, 2019. I was on the commission at that time. My hair is a little grayer than it was then. And I met with staff last week to address a number of questions that I had. So I'll now turn the presentation over to Mr. Mendez. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Vice Chair Zick and Commissioners. The item before you tonight is for an appeal of the denial of a reasonable accommodation request by the Ohio House located at 115 East Wilson Street. The property is located on East Wilson Street between Newport Boulevard and Eldon Avenue. It includes 5 detached 2-story residences on a half-acre parcel. The site is zoned R2MD, multifamily residential, with a commercial residential general plan designation. The site is surrounded by multifamily residential uses on 3 sides and commercial across the alley to the west. It was approved back in 2003 as a 5-unit common interest development. For the record, the agenda report references different years regarding when Ohio House began operating. However, the city has no official record confirming the exact start date. The city began investigating the property in March 2016, while the applicant has stated that operations began around 2012, prior to the adoption of the group home ordinance. Their first reasonable accommodation request was denied in 2017 by the Economic and Development Services Director, and both the Planning Commission and City Council upheld the denial. In 2019, a related CUP request was also denied. After the Planning Commission and City Council denied Ohio House's request in 2019, the matter was taken to court. In 2022, the U.S. District Court upheld the city's decision, finding that COSTA MESA separation requirement is lawful and does not unlawfully discriminate. A second reasonable accommodation request in 2023 was denied. Just this year, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals affirmed that ruling, confirming that the city's zoning standards already provide fair housing opportunities and that the Ohio House does not operate as a single housing unit. A few months ago, a third reasonable accommodation request was denied, and the applicant has now appealed that denial. The applicant is requesting the following reasonable accommodations. First, they are seeking relief from the city's definition of a single housekeeping unit under Section 13-6. This would allow the Wilson Street residents to be treated as a household and therefore exempt from a conditional use permit requirement. Alternatively, they are asking for a reduction in the required 650-foot separation between facilities. Their site is 500 feet from another city-approved Silver Living home at 165 East Wilson Street. They're requesting that the commission reduce the separation requirement by 100 feet. If granted, they are also asking that the city reconsider its prior denial of their CUP PA-17-10. The development was approved as a common interest development in 2003. Each individual lot is separately owned. However, each individual owner is part owner of a commonly held lot and is part of a joint homeowners association. Each parcel is developed with a 2-story single-family residence featuring 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, and an attached 2-car garage. All 5 garages and driveways are accessed by a public alley. Shown here is a typical floor plan of the units. Unit E is a mirrored layout of this plan. The majority of the bedrooms are located upstairs with 1 bedroom and 1 bathroom downstairs, along with the attached garage. This is an exterior elevation of the property looking north towards Wilson Street. So a separation conflict occurs when a group home, residential care facility, or state licensed treatment facility is located within 600 feet of another similar use, measured from property line to property line. However, the review authority can allow exceptions if the location won't result in an overconcentration of these facilities. The subject site is located approximately 550 feet from another sober living home located at 165 East Wilson Street, which is approved under CUP PA 16-03 in 2016. That facility serves 10 residents plus 1 live-in house manager. So as stated earlier, the applicant is requesting reasonable accommodations from the definition of single housekeeping unit. Alternatively, the applicant requests a 100-foot reduction in the 650-foot separation requirement. As such, the Economic and Development Service Director determined that not all the required findings for reasonable accommodation can be made based on the following reasons. One, the applicant has not demonstrated that waiving the separation requirement is necessary for disabled individuals who access housing in Costa Mesa. The facility's large residential load and operation as a business are inconsistent with the city's definition of a single housekeeping unit. The Ohio House operates between 30 to 45 residents and 10 on-site managers, which is far larger and more institutional than typical surrounding households. Its transient population, structured oversight, and shared contractual obligations distinguish it from normal single-family units, creating potential parking and overconcentration conflicts. Third, the applicant has not provided evidence that the number of existing group homes or sober living homes insufficient to meet the needs of the disabled individuals. The community already contains facilities operating in compliance with city standards that provide housing opportunities for similar populations. And lastly, granting the requested accommodation would contribute to an overconcentration of group homes and sober living homes in the neighborhood. This conflict with the city's zoning intent to maintain residential character and ensure disabled persons can live in typical residential neighborhoods rather than in institutional style settings. Pursuant to code, 3 types of public notification were completed for this item. As of this date, no written public comments have been received and no public comments were received prior to the noon deadline today. As such, based on these findings, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt the resolution to uphold the director's denial of the reasonable accommodation request. The commission could also consider an alternative action on the project in that can reverse the denial and approve the request by adopting findings to support that decision. This concludes staff presentation. Staff and the applicant are available for any question. The applicant has also prepared a presentation as well.
Thank you, Mr. Mendez. Also a good presentation. Commissioners, I'll start with questions of staff. No questions for staff. Commissioner Andrade.
Yes. Mr. Mendez, you mentioned, I found it as I was reading the material and as you were going over the application, you kept referencing to Ohio Homes as a business operation, as opposed to a treatment facility, as opposed to a housing program, or et cetera, or shelter. So I'm curious, like, what do you mean by that when you refer to the sober living home facility as a business operation, as opposed to like a treatment facility?
So I think there's a difference between treatment and sober living. So with sober living, there's no treatment per se, but to answer your question regarding it being a business, it's more transient in nature. We don't have residents that are, I guess, related to each other. From my understanding, typically these residents stay here anywhere from 7 months, and then new residents come in. So there's a coming and going of occupants within these properties.
So, it's having to do with the kind of the frequency of new clients per se, are coming into the facility, right, that are not any longer term than 7 months.
Then there's also contractual obligations and house rules in regards to operations for these facilities. Yeah, it's more similar to an apartment.
Got it. And like, as I read in the application, contractual obligations, like housekeeping, that kind of stuff, right? Like
Correct.
maintenance of the property by the clients or the people that are living there. Is there, you know, and just to kind of enlighten the commission on are individuals sent here like by court order? Are these like local residents that are being sent here? Is this privately owned, completely privately owned, or is this like state sanctioned? You know, anything along those lines?
It's my understanding that Ohio House is privately owned. The occupants, from my understanding, are local, meaning they could be Costa Mesa residents or surrounding neighborhoods. But that question would be best answered by the applicant.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right, any other questions for staff? Okay, thank you, Mr. Mendez. I'll open the public hearing, ask whether the applicant or the applicant's representative is present. I invite you to come to either podium.
Good evening.
Good evening. Could you start by giving us your name?
Yes, my name is Christopher Brancart, and thank you, Vice Chair and members of the Commission, for this opportunity to speak.
Christopher, if you could hold on 1 second. So have you read the staff report?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Excellent.
Yes.
Okay, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Let me begin, before I forget, to thank Mr. Mendez for his assistance. This is a process I'm not used to, and he has been instrumental in explaining what the steps are and how it does, right down to, for example, helping me show slides tonight. So I extend my thanks to him and to the Commission as a whole. This appeal from the denial of the reasonable accommodation is actually brought by Ohio House based upon a substantial change in circumstances, but also by 5 individual residents who will be displaced, evicted, and have to find alternative housing if Ohio House is forced to close. Mr. Mendez set forth what our requests are. They're actually twofold, and you can leave it right there for now, sir. They're actually twofold. First, that Ohio House, based upon the definition of a single housekeeping unit, should be classified as a single housekeeping unit. Now, there is one reasonable accommodation that has to be made in order to make that possible. We'll talk about that in a minute. If they're classified as a single housekeeping unit, of course, they would be subject to all of the generally applicable rules that govern every other household in Costa Mesa. That means if they create noise or a nuisance, they're subject to the Costa Mesa Code 20-2, which basically sets forth if you smoke too much or make noise or have traffic, you can be cited for that. The other reasonable accommodation request was that they be enabled to complete the CUP process. But to complete the CUP process, they have to get over one instrumental hurdle, one hurdle that they cannot physically get over because of the geography and where they find themselves, and that is the 650-foot separation. Ohio House can change just about anything about its operations and is open to suggestions. What it cannot change is its geography. Its geography was set when they began years before the regulations are in place that impose the 650-foot separation. What I'd like to do tonight is I'm going to show you some slides. I'm going to begin in reverse order. I'm going to talk about the profound change in circumstances that justifies this reasonable accommodation. I'm going to focus on the process for reasonable accommodation embedded in the regulations. And then I'm going to turn to the single housekeeping unit. I don't want to spend a lot of time on that, but I do think it's important that we look at the text of single housekeeping unit and see how it applies here.
Could you give us an approximate time of your presentation?
Yes, sir. I think I'll be about 15 minutes. Is that okay?
Yeah, if you keep it to that.
15 minutes.
Okay.
And if you let me know, if I go over, let me know, and I'll truncate it. We have the co-founder. Ryan Stump is here. He's available to answer questions, longtime resident of Costa Mesa. And we also have 2 residents here who will be here to answer your questions. Mr. Diego Blake, and also Gary Miller. They will have short statements and to answer any questions you have. They're also applicants here. Can we have slide number 1, please? No, number 1, if you would, please. You can skip that. Thank you. And you'll recall, sir, given your role now here as vice chair, but formerly as a member of the commission, that in 2012, the city of Costa Mesa had a large influx of group homes. What you see on this map is both the licensed and unlicensed one. And if you go to tab number 2, which is the reasonable accommodation request, it explains the significance and difference of them. Obviously, there's a zoning difference. If you are state licensed 6 and under, then the city cannot impose additional restrictions, such as permits or separation requirements. But there's another important point here, and that is the continuum of care, that when you're dealing with license and treatment facilities, that's where people, whether it's a mental illness or drug addiction, that's where you start your treatment, and then in the continuum of care, you go to a sober living. These are unlicensed. That is the significance between the two of them. Could you go to the next slide, please? In response to what was perceived as the proliferation of group homes, the city passed a number of regulations. In 2014, there was 1413 dealing with the R1. And then in 2015, there was the so-called Ordinance 1511. And then they were revised in 2017. What these ordinances say in a nutshell is this. They apply to existing group homes, retroactively apply to existing group homes, and they prohibit existing homes unless they obtain a permit. Now, for people in the R1 and also for 6 and unders in the R2, that's a special use permit. For homes such as Ohio House that are in 7 or more in multifamily, those are a 2-step process. First, a continued use permit, and then an operator's permit. Could we have the next slide, please? After 2014, up until about 2020, the city vigorously enforced its regulation, resulting in the closure of a number of group homes, sober living homes. Next slide, please. During that period of time, this is a report from 2021 of the city, 217 citations for operating a group home without a permit were issued. 82 of these group homes were closed pursuant to code enforcement action. Next slide, please. The city also rigorously enforced its requirements in the permit process. What you see here is a printout from planning staff. Now, this is as of March of 2019. And I share this with you because these are the homes similar to Ohio House. If you go to the next slide, please. Similar to Ohio House, they're there at the bottom, that applied for CUPs, applied for RAs, and as you can see, all the RAs were denied. These were RAs seeking an exception from the 650-foot separation requirement. Give the next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide. Here you see the approved homes. Now, I want to flag something for you. The ones you see in yellow were homes that were actually approved in the 1980s and 90s. The other ones were approved under these new laws. So there are about 16 of them that are approved sober living homes. Next slide. And if you just look at the unlicensed ones as of 2025, per the city records that are there on the city website, you can see it's actually relatively few given the total population. You see there in blue, Ohio House. Next slide. What's happened as a result of this radical change in circumstances when there's been a profound decrease based upon enforcement of group homes and sober living homes is reflected in the Planning Commission reports that you've received. On the left, you'll see the Planning Commission report from 2019, and it talks about four homes within 650 feet of Ohio House. What you see on the right is the one that you have here tonight. There's just one. This is a result of the profound change in circumstances as of 2025. Give me the next slide. Map. I think this map shows the story. Here are the homes that created conflicts under the separation requirement in 2019, and here they are today. But that doesn't tell the whole story. Could we have the next slide? So if you look at the 16 approved group homes, sober living homes, what you're going to see here is that not all of them are available for people that fit or are served by Ohio House. You'll see this in the very large tab 2. We went and actually contacted them and searched them out. Could I have the next slide? And this is what we find, that of those 16, 5 no longer operate, reducing 36 beds. One of them is treatment only. 2 of them are not open to the general public or closed to the general public. 2 of them don't allow men, they're women only. And you have 3 of them that only accept people that qualify as homeless or criminal referral. That is not Ohio House. Ohio House is individuals who voluntarily, intentionally seek to join the Ohio House as part of their continuum of care in order to solidify their sobriety. What that means in a nutshell is that today there are 24 beds, and that's provided that there's if there's nobody occupying them. If you were to close Ohio House today, and it has between 25 and 35 residents, there are not enough sober living beds in the city today that would accept them because of the restrictions in terms of treatment only and what have you. Could we have the next slide, please? So this is what it actually looks like. When it comes to where people in Ohio House, assuming there are vacancies, this is where they could go. Ohio House is, of course, in blue. The conflict is the dot you see next to Ohio House in red. Next slide, please. Well, look, for sure there has been a lot of opining about this, and no doubt you can call it the effect of the regulation, or you could call it the success of the regulation. It has attracted the attention of the state of California, HCD, and others. And you're very well aware of this. And there's been a division in views as to whether it's a federal law or a state law should apply. Next slide. For sure, it has affected how the city intends to deal with these things in the future in order to pass the housing element. And I know you all will be involved because it does touch on zoning. You've been called upon to modify the single housekeeping unit, the group home regulations, next slide, and also reasonable accommodation. I don't want to focus on what the state is mandating. I want to focus on our own regulation. Can we have the next slide? And what I want to present is this. It is not a fundamental alteration to grant an exception to the 650 rule. Instead, it is fundamentally part of these regulations. It is part of these regulations. It's baked into these regulations. And it was always the intent to make those exceptions. Starting with the reasonable accommodation itself, it's the policy to make these reasonable accommodations. Take a look on the right. This policy applies to people who are seeking to operate group homes. Next slide, please. And that policy is embedded in the group home regulations themselves. Here on the left, we have the, you can ask for a reasonable accommodation for relief from strict application of the requirements, and you see it on the right as it applies to our CUP 7 and older ones that have to get a operator's permit. This is my point. When people say making an exception to the 650 rule is a fundamental alteration, that has never been the design. The design has always been, although yes, they were all denied in the past, but given the change in circumstances, given how successful, or you might say adversely effective, the regulations were, those same concerns don't apply. And that's why we embedded this into the regulation. I'll tell you one other thing. Next slide, please. You'll recall, if you go back to 2019 on the council, the city found back in 2019 that Ohio House was general plan compliant. The zoning code is a tool to implement the general plan. They are general plan compliant. And here's the other thing. Back in 2019, what did the city find in the PCR, the PCAR, I'm sorry. This facility has demonstrated its compatibility with the neighborhood over the past 3 years. There is no report here of them being disruptive. Now, I'm sure that no one's perfect. I'm sure, if they're disruptive, they deserve to get a citation or a notice. But this back in 2019, and since then, there's been no record of disruption. I recall meetings in which these places would be full of people that are objecting, and there would be piles of objections. Go to the next slide, please. The reason for that is, if we take a look at the facts on the ground, is that when we talk about the separation here, we're talking about the distance from Ohio House here to Wilson Street. That's the separation requirement. If the Wilson Street address was over 2 houses, there'd be no separation conflict. But let me show you one other reason why I don't think it's generating problems. Next slide. This is the Ohio House at Wilson. It's along an alley in which there was frequently a homeless going back and forth. It backs up to the Circle K, the 24/7 Circle K on Newport. They have parking here. This is their front lawn, is this alley. And I think that's important because if you take a look at the facts on the ground, you'll see that there is no proximity problem between these 2 group homes. Yes, they're within 650 feet. Next slide. Turn off of Newport down Wilson. You see the Circle K. Next slide. Drive past the Circle K, which is on your right. You'll see there in the center of the screen, Ohio House at Wilson. Next slide. Let's drive past the alleyway. There they are. And keep going down Wilson. Next slide. Keep going down. Next slide. Next slide. Let's head to the stop sign. This is a stop sign in Elvin. Next slide. Next slide. Let's go through the intersection. Not there yet. Let's go down, continue down. Next slide. Now we're starting to see the separation problem. It's over here in the right center. Keep going. Next slide. There it is. That's the conflict. Now, the city's own expert has opined in a number of times, this is not an institutionalized neighborhood. There's nothing institutional about this. There's no relationship to these 2. People didn't even know they both existed. Keep going, please. Let's get out of our car and park right here. Look, if you look on the right, that's the conflict. That's 165. Do you see the white building in front of us where we parked our car? If the 165 was where the white building was, there'd be no separation problem. That's how de minimis it is. Could we have the next slide, please? Look, I have 2 things to say about the SHU analysis. The first thing is this. I read the planning report and the determination very carefully, and I will say this. If you were to review our submission to the city, we established that the occupants in Ohio House do have established ties and familiarity with each other. In fact, they intentionally join these communities. They have joint use of all areas. They have to interact with each other because that's a mandate of being in a sober living. They go there because they need that mutual support. They share meals, household activities, etc. They are not transient. The average amount of time there is typically 6 months, but there's no cap. And there are a number of people that stay there for years. There's no separate entrances. Next slide. No locks on doors, no separate food. Now, I have to say, it says that this in the SHU, and I've always found this, and haven't been able to find the clarity. It says the residential activities of the household are conducted on a nonprofit basis. And I will say I find that problematic because the fundamental residential activity of any household in a rental dwelling is the occupancy of the dwelling, which is pursuant to a commercial transaction between a household and a tenant, and a landlord. So it seems to me that if that were a problem, we'd have a problem with many, many rental dwellings in the city. I will say one other thing too. This talk about it's being a business, it's actually a residence, just like any other rental dwelling. And the city has recognized that. These are residences. They're not classified as businesses. If you go to slide 39, thank you. You could point your browser tonight to just type in City of Costa Mesa, general information about group homes. And what will pop up is general information. What will it tell you here at the bottom? This is the city's, it's on your, you can search it now. Group homes are not considered a business operation. Group homes are not considered a business operation. And that's the acknowledgement, as has been acknowledged over and over again, and originally by the city, that these are residences. Yes, they have some unique characteristics because of the needs of the disabled people. Could we go back to where we were? So stop right there. So there is one reasonable accommodation that's needed. And again, I'm not sure exactly what, I understand what was happening when you draft the single housekeeping unit. It was designed to try to exclude group homes, to push them into the permitting process. But here's something it says, that members have some control over who becomes a member of the household. Not sure what that means, but let's say this. If some control, let me say it, members at Ohio House can go to their friends and they can say, hey, I'm in a great place. They go to meetings, they can recommend it, but they have no control over inviting their friends into the household because this is a sober living home. And this is where, if some control means that recommending or saying it's a good place to live is not some control, then we would need a reasonable accommodation to this, because in order to join this house, you have to go through the vetting process. One, you got to be sober. You got to be in recovery. Two, you've got to prove that you're committed to your recovery. Three, you have to go ahead and abide by the rules of the house. It is structured sober living. That means you're doing chores. You're abiding by our parking rules. You are going to have to take a drug test at the beginning. You're going to have to go to meetings when you first join. Now, after people are there for a year and establish sobriety, solidifying their sobriety in the continuum of care, then we can go ahead and adjust those things. But no, they don't get to invite their friends in. This is not some other, general thing. I want to say one other thing. Could we go on one more? Next slide. Let's go on one more slide, please. One more. I will say this. There are a number, when I think of single housekeeping unit, I'll be honest with you, this is I think of sort of a family. But the reality is, looking at the data in Costa Mesa, my Leave It to Beaver type analysis of the word is actually less than 50% of the households. And almost an equal number are non-family households. And I would suggest this, that as between Ohio House, which has a set of rules, people that are intentionally committed to their sobriety, people that have to honor those rules, and people will be asked to leave if they aren't going to behave, that those are the folks that you want to have as your neighbors. Those are the folks that have had a track record of no police reports, no code enforcement. I don't want to take any more time because I know you're busy. I did go through, you mentioned, I did read the Planning Commission and the proposed resolution carefully. And I actually put together something about this. This is on the single housekeeping unit. And it says what's not required for Ohio House to qualify as a single housekeeping unit. And then I answer it's the assertions and speculation in the PCAR and in the resolution that you're asked to draft. Because over and over again, what's stated in that resolution is irrelevant to the elements in the single housekeeping unit definition. It's not there. And this is something if I may give these, I don't want to take too much of your time, but you'll find, for the record at least, I think it should be a part of the record so that you can have the benefit of that. Let me end on one note here. Two things. Let me give you the handout, and I'll hand this to you. Mr. Mendez, can I hand this to you, sir? This is a new reasonable accommodation. There is no doubt there's been a tremendous amount of litigation, and it was focused on the record of the 2017 reasonable accommodation, which was litigated. And what I hope to establish here today is that if we look at the world in Costa Mesa in 2017 versus what it is in 2025, when we have individuals that are facing being forced out of their home with no other place to go in Costa Mesa, that we have a profound change in circumstances that justifies this. Second thing I'd say, we're focusing very narrowly on the state law and not the federal law. We do that because, well, the state law is much more favorable, and the state has indicated a concern about these issues. And I guess the last thing I would say is this. For the first time, you have before you individuals that will be displaced, that will have to leave their homes. The 5 appellants who are currently living sober, productive lives in Costa Mesa as residents. Well, I know you may have questions. Happy to answer them, but perhaps maybe Ryan Stump, who is one of the co-founders, he'll be coming up next, and he'll be able to answer questions you have about the Ohio House and its operation.
If you'll stay there for just a
Sure.
second.
I
didn't quite catch your last name when you began.
Brancart, sir. It's, if you go to the tab 2, it's the letter. I wrote the letter, the reasonable accommodation
I'll
letters.
look it up. Thank you.
Brancart.
Thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions?
Yes.
Yes, Commissioner Andrade?
So I'm looking at the staff report, page 8. It says the applicant's reasonable accommodation request was submitted without an accompanying CUP application. So understanding that the house has over 6 occupants, why didn't we include a CUP?
Thank you. The reason we didn't include a CUP was twofold. First, there are 2 requests here. If you are willing to treat them as a single housekeeping unit, then there would be no CUP. And to treat them as a single housekeeping unit, you need to grant them an exception, a modest exception to what it means on some control. And therefore, there would not be one. Second thing is this. I showed you a chart that showed all the reasonable accommodations that were denied because people had separation conflicts. They were within 650 feet of another person, and it was all of them. Unless we can establish that we can satisfy that condition, and we need an exception to do it, that is necessary. I think when I think of necessary, I think of but for. But for getting that exception to the 650-foot, Ohio House can't continue to operate. But for that exception to the 650-foot, we can't get a CUP because we're going to be disqualified. And the individuals who've chosen to live there are going to be evicted. They're going to be asked to leave, right? And finally, what I think the change in circumstances showed that I don't think this is the legal standard, but let's just put it out there. There are no other places now today in Costa Mesa because, whether right or wrong, depending on how you view these things, the city was successful in reducing substantially the number of group homes, sober living homes in the city, right?
Thank you. Is that helping your question? Yes. Okay. Keep going if you've got more
And so to answer your question more directly is, as I say in the reasonable accommodation that was shown by Mr. Mendez in the beginning, and it's also in tab 2 on our reasonable accommodation letter, what we would propose is this. We're prepared, if we can get over the 650-foot qualification, to resubmit a reasonable accommodation. We're prepared to sit down and modify our practices and policies to obtain those permits, and then we would be subject to those rules. One of the things you'll find is that we already operate in accordance with them. We have all the rules that the city otherwise put into the operator's permit in place. That's what it means to be a successful, well-run, sober living home. But we need to get over this condition of the separation requirement, which we can't change because it's geography.
Is that it? Okay. Commissioner Klepek, any questions? Commissioner Rojas, any questions at this point? Commissioner Dixon, any questions at this point? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate your time. Mr. Vice Chair, Ryan Stump is here, and
he can come up and contribute to closing comments.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Stump, can he come up now? Would that be okay?
No, because we're going to have public comment at this point.
Okay, so as part of public comment, he could speak? He's one of the applicants. We have 3 of the actual applicants.
When I asked about the duration of your presentation.
Oh, it's fine.
You gave your presentation.
I understand.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right, so I will open the public comments. If you'd like to speak to this item, please approach the podium. If you're on Zoom, please use the raise hand option. And if you're joining the meeting on your phone and would like to speak, please press *9. Anyone in chambers like to speak? Ryan. Mr. Stump.
Good evening. My name is Ryan Stump, co-founder of the Ohio House. I'm a father, husband, brother, son, and proud resident of Costa Mesa. For nearly 15 years, the Ohio House has been a safe haven for thousands of men fighting for their lives against substance abuse and mental illness. Tonight, I come before you because our very existence in this city is on the line. And yet, outside these chambers, America faces the deadliest addiction and mental health crisis in our history. The National Institute of Health reports that nearly 1 in 4 adults struggle with mental illness or substance abuse. 1 in 4. In a city of roughly 100,000 adults, that means more than 23,000 of our neighbors are in need. Against that reality, why would Costa Mesa work to eliminate one of the few programs proven to save lives? Addiction does not discriminate. It impacts doctors, lawyers, students, entrepreneurs, and even public servants. And yet, instead of being supported, recovery programs and sober livings have been targeted, vilified, and driven out. The city has spent millions of taxpayer dollars attacking sober living and aftercare. Money that could have been spent invested in real solutions. Programs like the Ohio House should be celebrated, not scapegoated. We are not asking for special treatment. We are asking for equal treatment under the law. The laws that protect people with disabilities from housing discrimination require a city to make reasonable accommodations for people with disabilities, including those in recovery. The California Attorney General has gone on record, and I quote, "Ordinances that restrict sober living are unlawful and harmful." The Ohio House has always opened our doors to scrutiny. We have always been transparent. The city has reviewed our program and operations. We have operated responsibly, openly, and in good faith. The question is, has the city treated us in good faith? For 9 years, I have sought a real conversation with Costa Mesa leadership. Instead, this hearing is the best I could do. So why? Why have you approved more massage parlors than Ohio Houses? Why more weed dispensaries than Ohio Houses? Why are the leaders in our community isolating, chastising, and institutionalizing those in recovery? If you deny this appeal, more than 40 men in early recovery will be displaced. They will lose their stability, their community, and their best chance at success. Relapse, homelessness, and despair will follow, and Costa Mesa will bear that cost. But if you grant this reasonable accommodation, you will affirm that Costa Mesa stands on the side of law, compassion, and human dignity.
Thank you, Mr. Stump. Mr. Stump, your 3 minutes is up, sir. Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Hi, thank you, Vice Chair and Commissioners. My name is Diego Blake. I've been at the Ohio House since October 2023. And in a few minutes, I just want to, if there's one word that I would use to sum up the Ohio House, that's community. I came here lost from New York City, and I did 30 days of treatment, right? And I was recommended the Ohio House because of the reputation it has in the sober living communities, right? So, and right now I'm a house lead at the Ohio House. We are a community. We operate as a community. We hold each other accountable. Tonight we're having a group dinner, and we're ordering Prince Street Pizza for group dinners, right? That place has been the bedrock for people like myself to rebuild their lives, right? We have people who are studying history in college. We have people, one of our fellows just got his truck license, right? And, we have someone else who is going to alcohol to be an alcohol counselor, drug and abuse counselor. That's what it does, right? It allows people like myself to rebuild and an opportunity, to rebuild their lives and go out and go out and, serve their communities in the right way, right? So I just want to point that out. We're a community, we're an inclusive community, right? And that's in our mission statement in Costa Mesa, right? And so I just want to point back to that. That's how we operate, and I was giving that opportunity, and I want that opportunities for other people as myself. And look at this, I'm not coming from the streets. We have people in the Ohio House who may not have college degree. I'm college educated. I've worked at some of the most prestigious companies in New York City. So that's the level. Alcohol does not discriminate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, my name is Gary Miller, and thank you guys for your patience. And I can't imagine what it would be like to endure the stuff that you guys have to endure. This is a really emotional thing. I was looking at the distance that was brought up, and Costa Mesa, 16 square miles. And after 14 years of sobriety, I unfortunately fell victim to the disease and the relapse, and went to College Hospital, which of course is a great resource in the Costa Mesa community. And I was there for 9 days, and when you're there to discharge, the county assigns a caseworker, and they really don't have anywhere for you to go. And fortunately, the recovery community is so loving and supportive, as is really strong in Costa Mesa, and somebody recommended the Ohio House, and I wasn't too excited about it, but I went there, and 2.5 years later, it saved my life. And like I said, there's 16 miles that the square miles of Costa Mesa at end to end. I'd certainly hope like 150 feet doesn't, make that definition doesn't, mean life or death. And after, I'll end with this, going down to the Stater Brothers and seeing the people that get discharged from College Hospital that are homeless. We have a homelessness epidemic in Costa Mesa, and there is a substance abuse epidemic and a fentanyl epidemic and all that stuff, and mental health. And unfortunately, all three of those are very closely related. So, you guys have the power to do that. I didn't realize the emotions that, and it's to get up here and against every right of privacy. It's just such an important thing to me that this place really saves lives, and you guys have the power to see that, and I just wish, I hope that you guys see that, and thank you so much again for your time and your patience.
Thank you for your comments. Yes, sir.
Hi, everyone. My name is Josh. I first want to say I appreciate you guys listening to us. So first, I am a resident of Ohio House. I know there's been a lot of talk of sober living, business, treatment center, but for us and for me, it's my family. I don't look at the Ohio House as a sober living. I don't look at the Ohio House as a treatment center. I look at the Ohio House as a community and a brotherhood that has really helped me get sober. I was homeless. I was a heroin addict. I was on the street. And in sobriety, I went to college. I actually went to Vanguard University right next door and got my bachelor's and my master's. And I'm a therapist. I even work in the field. And it might seem, to the outside world that all we are a group of drunks, but realistically, we're a family. And taking away the Ohio House and over just 100 feet is displacing all of us and really taking away our family. Think about it yourselves, right? Homeless shelter, boys and girls clubs, all of those places. If you were to displace them and say, hey, no license over 100 feet, you know, where would they go? We're in the same opportunity, we're in the same spot. You know, and I just want to leave you with this one last component of it was I was actually texting my dad on my way over here, and I was telling him what was going on. And I said to him, I was like, you know, like, this is what's going on. He's like, well, you can let them know that Ohio House helped get my son back and have them really sit with that. Because without Ohio House, I wouldn't have my son. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, council members. My name is Tyler Douglas Warren. I'm writing to you a heartfelt plea regarding the Ohio House, a sober living facility founded by my best friend Brandon and his younger brother Ryan. Brandon and I have been best friends for 30 plus years. I found myself distressed and struggling and an even worse feeling as a man. I would eventually find my rock bottom where I forfeited my own personal values and replaced them with drugs and alcohol. I spent nearly 8 years homeless on the streets of Westminster, California, struggling with addiction and trying to rebuild my life, but not having the tools or positive mindset to do so. After several attempts at finding me on the streets, though mostly unsuccessful, he did not waver or give up, which is a true testament to Brandon. And if you knew him like I do, is an accurate depiction of his true character, incredibly hard work ethic, and love for the people closest to him. He would inevitably find me, with a little help from God, I believe, as well. Not only did he find me, but more importantly, gave me a second chance at life through the Ohio House. Brandon has helped countless other individuals in similar situation. It was Brandon who ultimately turned his own life around, ultimately perpetuating and successfully providing a safe haven, a lifeline, if you will, for individuals like myself who find themselves at a crossroad or turning point in their life. After several attempts at finding me, I'm sorry, I think I just read that. The Ohio House is a facility that has not only been a sanctuary for me, but is also a vital part of my recovery and a lifeline in the recovery of many others in the community. I understand there are concerns about housing restrictions and potential impact on property values, etc. However, I would like to emphasize the Ohio House is an integral part of the community. It provides a safe, supportive environment that helps individuals like myself regain stability and contribute positively to society. Furthermore, instead of solely focusing on potential risk or concern, I urge you to consider the following: reduce necessary emergency response costs and spending, functionality of residents returning to the work, and further adding to the overall median household income. Contribution to taxpayers for taxpaying for the city, and further revenue towards the city's ongoing accrued expenses and costs to operate. These are simply a few. Closing the Ohio House or imposing relocation would not only jeopardize the progress of many individuals in recovery, but also diminish the support network that has been built over time and proven to be so successful throughout time. I respectfully urge you to reconsider the decision and allow the Ohio House to continue its essential work in the community. Thank you for your time and consideration. Most respectfully, Tyler Worm.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, everybody. My name is Brandon Stump, founder of the Ohio House. How cool is that? Tyler's up here with 4 months of sobriety. I found him on the streets of Westminster 4 months ago with no teeth, no job, hadn't taken a shower in a year. He's up here talking to you guys. His life's changed, full-time job. I mean, call it a business, call it transient, whatever. I don't get involved in the words. We help a lot of people. The Ohio House is a sober living community here in Costa Mesa. I appreciate the opportunity to share my story, my business history, and why I believe our presence here is both valuable and essential to the fabric of this city. I never set out to work in mental health or addiction recovery. My journey into this field started with my own personal recovery. When I moved to Costa Mesa from Ohio, friends back home noticed how I had changed my life. They wanted to follow the same path I had taken. Out of genuine desire to help, I invited them into my home. What started as a simple act of generosity quickly grew into something much larger. More people wanted help, and what began informally in my living room grew into the Ohio House. The name came from friends jokingly calling my place the Ohio House, and it stuck. Over time, I realized that not only was I good at supporting others in recovery, but the people who lived with us were truly changing their lives. As this mission grew, I made a serious commitment to this city.
I invested more than $7 million in real estate on the east side of Costa Mesa. At the time of these purchases, there were no restrictions regarding the proximity of sober living homes. It was only later that the city passed an ordinance requiring a 650-foot separation between homes. Because the city first granted a permit to another home 550 feet away from my homes, something I had no control over, the new rule directly impacted the properties I had already purchased in good faith. It is important to note that my decision to invest here was not just about business. Costa Mesa became my home. I own a house on Costa Mesa Street where I live with my fiancée, whose daughter attends school here. My brother and business partner also lives in Costa Mesa on Santa Isabella Street with his wife and their 2-year-old daughter, who also goes to school locally. We are not outsiders coming in to take from this community. We are neighbors, homeowners, taxpayers, and fully invested in the well-being of Costa Mesa. Beyond financial investment, our work at the Ohio House has contributed something even more valuable, hope. We provide a safe, structured, and supportive environment for people who are serious about rebuilding their lives. Every day we witness individuals transform from hopelessness to stability, from addiction to employment, from isolation to reuniting with their families. Our homes are well maintained and professionally managed. We hold ourselves to high standards and care for accountability. We work hard to ensure that our presence enhances the neighborhood we're part of, rather than detracting from it. Many of our graduates go on to become productive, responsible community members themselves, renters, homeowners, employees, and even business owners right here in Costa Mesa. Costa Mesa has a long history as a place where recovery thrives. People come here because of the strong recovery community, and our city has a national reputation. I don't even need to get into the rest of what I wrote. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Corey Dispensiero, and I recently moved over to Adams, 1300 Adams Avenue, and I have a little spot I rent over there, and I love my little home. And there's plenty of homeless people that come and dig through my trash. And probably 8-9 years ago, I was that homeless person digging through that trash. You know, I can talk to you from a couple different positions, but I just want to talk to you from a position of my own life. And you know, like Tyler, you know, I spent so much time in, you know, I've spent time all over Southern California, and I was in Costa Mesa for a long time. And I tried to get sober. I tried to get my life back together with mom's pleads, you know, possible fishing trips with dads, with mom's requests when she was sick. I could not get my life together. You know, my mom said, come back home, please come back home. I went back home. And she said, one night, she said, Corey, where are you going? I said, I'll be back in 20 minutes. I never went back home. 4 months later, I pulled the plug on my mom. That was 4.5 years ago. Last year, I was able to bury my dad. I was able to show up for my dad for 3 years, go fishing with my dad, drive my car down that I have insurance for, that I have registration for. Why? Because I have a job. Why? Because I'm a productive member of society again. I would have never had that opportunity had I not gotten into, and I'm not going to just say this is all about Ohio House, but if I had not had some accountability, if I had not had some structure, if I had not had the most important piece, community, if I had not had people share their experience with me, their strength with me, their hope with me. You know, you talk about what it looked like on the other side. It looked like my mom. My poor mom. Where's my son? What happened to my son? Dude, you know how it was like for me when I would catch a look at myself in the mirror out on Bristol and think, God, what happened to my life? Man, if I could have done something, I would have done something. I didn't have the ability to do anything. I try. Stuck in Costa Mesa. I'm no help to the community. I don't fall in line with our mission. But guess what? I get sober. I have nowhere to go. They give me a room. They give me a place. They give me somewhere to go safe, somewhere I can build community, fellowship, be of service to my community. I'm amped up about this because these guys give me power that I get to serve with, that I get to be with. When I say serve, we go to LA, we go to the mission, we serve the homeless. We come here, we have a softball game tonight at 8:50 at T. Winkle Park, a community. We are a spirit. You want to talk about taking the best spirit with you? We are the spirit. I mean, I would be just another statistic. I would have let my family down. Instead, I'm like the leader of my family. I pay my bills in Costa Mesa. I do everything in Costa Mesa. I love Costa Mesa. You guys. I fish in Newport. I fish in Costa Mesa. I us out of here. We're a gift to this community. Straight up, we are a gift to this community.
Thank you for your time, sir. Good evening.
Good evening. Thanks for listening to all of us and taking the time. I'll make this as brief as possible. My name's Jeremy Tangaro, and the Ohio House saved my life. Growing up, I watched my mom grieve the loss of 3 brothers due in part to alcoholism. When I got to the Ohio House, to be honest, I didn't even care whether I lived or if I died. I was well beyond that point. The one thing that I didn't want to do was leave my mom with the loss of me. I couldn't bear that thought. So when I arrived at the Ohio House, I was a 40-year-old accomplished but broken man. In my former life, I was a CPA. I rose up the ranks. I was the director of the Pacific Northwest office of a large accounting firm, and I had pissed all that away. And I would have kept going, but I literally I drank myself to seizures, and so I couldn't hold a job. And so I had spent all my money. I had no will to live whatsoever, and I ended up at the Ohio House. And I was given the opportunity to become a house manager there. I was a house manager for about 6 years. I was very strict. We're very strict there. I saw so many miracles, countless miracles of people like these guys who have come here, and some from the streets. Some are your doctors, some are lawyers, some are your chiropractors, some are the people that help bag your food at the grocery store. They're all over Costa Mesa, and we all come together at the Ohio House as a community. I'll just skip forward to the end here. So the Ohio House is a well-structured, legitimate, sober living environment. We consider ourselves the gold standard. The Ohio House saved my life and countless others. I just ask this. I ask every one of you to ask yourself this question. If you had a son, a husband, uncle, a grandfather, your best friend, your coworker, or even your butcher, your stylist, your banker, your stockbroker, your chiropractor, your physical therapist, anyone that you cared about, loved, if they fell into the throes of addiction, wouldn't you want them to have a place like the Ohio House? I think the answer is simple, and please reconsider the city recommendation.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in chambers want to speak? Anna, do we have anyone on Zoom?
Cynthia McDonald, you may provide your public comment.
Good evening, commissioners. I appreciate the success stories that we've heard that are associated with the Ohio House, and I commend them for their work. But years ago, I spent many hours in the city council chambers listening to residents plea, some crying, for the city council to do something, anything about the over-concentration of sober living homes. There are 2 court rulings that say our ordinance is legal. To reverse those actions will only mean the city will land back in court. We just took $100,000 out of our reserves to fund a legal defense fund for our residents detained by ICE. I would rather put money there than in Mr. Brandcart's pocket. So please uphold the denial. Thank you.
There's no one else, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Mr. Brancart, would you like to come up and make any closing comments?
Consideration. I don't think I could improve or expand upon the comments that were made by the people whose lives are here in Costa Mesa and have been touched and improved to the betterment of this community than the individuals that have already spoken. If you have specific questions, I'm happy to answer them, but I think they've done a pretty darn good job. I appreciate your time.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you.
I'm going to close the public comment portion of our public hearing. Commissioners, any further questions of staff? Yes, Commissioner Dixon.
Just a quick clarification. The staff report it was talking about, and the definition of a property includes a common interest development, correct? So the 5 separate parcels are part of a common interest development. There's no separation issue with them. That's considered one parcel, one property from the code perspective, from the separation requirement. If you look at 13-323B, it talks about the separation requirement and it refers back to the definition of property in 13-121, and that appears to include a common interest development or a condo lot as opposed to individual properties with individual APNs. There's a distinction there.
Yeah, so a residential common interest development, from my understanding, would be considered a single development lot.
It wasn't super clear, and so I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Any other questions from the commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Andrade.
Yes. So I think something that would be helpful to consider this accommodation, and considering that this would go against 2 court decisions,
questions?
Yes.
Oh, go ahead.
Is just a bit more of supporting data of the success. I mean, the stories were absolutely powerful. Thank you all for being vulnerable and sharing a very
Commissioner Andrade,
personal.
questions for staff at this point?
Yeah, I'm getting there. Thank you. Just how many on average, well, I guess this is an question for the applicant. On average, how many people per bedroom do you commonly have, right? Because I think the table that we had presented in the application, there was a range. Because I'm concerned about the overcrowding definition.
So I've closed public comment. So there aren't any more questions for the applicant, unless that's your only question for the applicant.
What is the population of Costa Mesa residents that are being serviced by the facility?
Okay.
How many?
Questions for staff then?
I think I'll defer to staff to tell me if this is something that they can answer. Do we have kind of success metrics of a sober living home? I imagine to some extent, do they have to report back to the city on their success?
No, we don't have that information.
And I heard some varying definitions of, the length of stay. I mean, in the report, it says something around 6 to 7 months, but then some individuals here shared it's like 2 to 3 years at times, and then they become even the supervisors of the property. So any other insight there?
No other insight, Commissioner.
Post-treatment, what does it look like after an individual, successfully completes their term, which is, I guess, personally defined? What is the post-treatment that an individual may have, or are they off on their own after?
So the city doesn't keep track of those outcomes. That'd be more of a question for the applicant.
Mm-hmm.
Any more questions for staff?
Apparently, all of these questions are for the applicant, so I think it would be helpful.
Chair, if I could clarify, So the discussion tonight, and let me just directly address Commissioner Andrade. The questions about the individual profiles of occupants is not within the purview of the zoning ordinance. And so staff would not have that information about the individuals, their individual dispositions, the origins, of their, of the characteristics. And so then that is why staff's information, it does pertain to the requirements that are in the zoning ordinance. Thank you.
Anything else for staff?
Nothing else.
A quick follow-up question.
Go ahead, Commissioner Dixon.
Mr. Mendez, the applicant's representative represented a number of how many were currently approved and how many beds are available. Do you have that information?
I do. So in the city, from our latest records, we have 15 approved sober living homes within the city.
And how many beds total is that? Are you familiar?
I don't have that
Okay,
information.
but there are 15 licensed sober living homes in the city.
Correct.
Okay. And, okay, thank you.
I have one question for staff, and it's a question I'll direct to the director and maybe the city attorney if he wants to chime in. So Mr. Brancart went through a rather thorough presentation of his position. What my question is whether or not you saw any information in that presentation that you feel you need to, that was new to you or would change the conclusion that you've reached? That's my question.
Commissioner Zick, I will answer that from a legal basis. It's not really a legal question for the city attorney. That's more of a factual question.
Okay. Director Tai?
Thank you. In the submittals of information, and I don't have the dates in front of me, but I believe they were May 2nd, May 6th, and June something. That, and the information presented tonight was not a part of that. And so rather, I'm not going to theorize as to what staff's consideration would have been. However, anytime there's an introduction of new information, I would say, it's my duty to tell you that it is new and that it wasn't part of the original submittal.
All right. Any other questions for staff? Yes, Commissioner Andrade.
Could you share any insight on the order of the approvals that were done, right? So we're the neighboring facility that's at 165, I believe. Is there a rationale on why didn't this property or this facility get approved instead of the other, right? Like it seemed like they were both providing the similar service, but when we set the new guidelines, the other property with less occupants is the one that got approved. Was it a concern of volume? Do you have any, history or record on kind of the order of approval?
Yeah, so just to give the commission a quick synopsis, Ohio House, from our understanding, began operations in 2012. And then the city council in 2015 adopted the group home ordinance. In that ordinance, it gave all existing operating facilities within the city, it gave it a 1-year time period for them to come to the city and apply for a conditional use permit. Ohio House did not come to the city and apply for a conditional use permit at that time. However, the other facility at 165 East Wilson did apply and got their approval in 2016.
Got it. Thank you for that. That's helpful. And then secondly, so should we move forward with this recommendation that the office is making? What services can the city provide, in turn provide to its, average 30 residents?
I'm not sure I understand the question, Commissioner Andrade.
So if we don't approve, if we proceed with the decision, Ohio House has to close, correct? My question is, should that happen, what kind of services can the city provide to its current residents so that they don't end up on our streets?
I'm going to do my best attempt at framing an answer that, so I'm going to say, if you look at the history of Ohio House, there was never an approval to operate. I mean, that's why this started with code enforcement in the history that's laid out in the staff report. And so essentially, the responsibility to relocate tenants would fall on, the persons that, made that, that space available to begin with. And so I'm not sure, I mean, I can't speak on behalf of the city and what resources the city would have. That's certainly beyond the purview of this department. But I will say, in any case where there's a land use decision of something that did not actually receive a permit in any way, the responsibility would fall back on, the property owner and any obligations they've made to tenants of any kind.
So city staff is not aware of any homeless prevention services that would be made available to these residents, should we move forward?
So the city certainly has, our neighborhood services division certainly has connections to resources. It's just that the staff that are here tonight at this meeting, we just don't have that readily available, but it's something that staff could certainly provide.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Andrade. Commissioner.
Yeah, I just want to try and get a better understanding of one particular thing. Can either city attorney or staff explain what res judicata is and why that applies here?
Thank you. Res judicata is a legal principle, which in essence means that a decision has already been rendered on the same facts. That is legal, it is legally binding on other courts, or here the decision has already been made, the decision has already been decided on similar facts is the general definition of res judicata.
So this application has the same facts as the previous application. Is that correct? Is that a very basic way of putting it?
So the city's position is that this application, this request for reasonable accommodation, as it was submitted to the director, the department, is substantially the same as the two previous applications. The city's position as set forth in the director's determination is that there are new arguments and perhaps new legal interpretations, but the facts are substantially similar to the previous two reasonable accommodation requests that were submitted to the city and denied.
And the previous application with substantially the same facts was denied by the Development Services Director, the Planning Commission, the City Council, and two courts?
So the first reasonable accommodation as set forth in the staff report was denied. It was appealed to the Planning Commission, City Council. Then when they were upheld by the City Council, the denial of the reasonable accommodation, it was then challenged in federal court by the applicant. And ultimately the federal court, through the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeal, upheld the city's decision. The second reasonable accommodation request, as set forth in the staff report, was not appealed. It was appealed to the City Council, but no civil action was filed against the city following that denial. And then we're here at the third reasonable accommodation request, which obviously has not been gone to court yet, nor has it exhausted its administrative remedies.
Thank you. Those are my questions.
Okay, no other questions. I will close public hearing and ask if I can have a motion.
Move to approve staff recommendation.
Seconded by Dixon. Commissioner Martinez, you want to speak to your motion? Commissioner Dixon?
You know, I'd like to thank everyone who came up and spoke, Mr. Blake, Mr. Miller, Josh, I'm sorry I didn't get your last name. The gentleman who spoke before, Mr. Stumpf, I didn't hear your name as you started talking. And Mr. Corey Disingero and Mr. Kingaro. You know, I want to assure you, my best friend killed himself because of alcohol. I have a very close family member who we lost to alcohol after, you know, getting hooked on pills and all the other stuff. I understand vividly, and then that relative spent time in a Costa Mesa sober living home. I understand vividly the issue you face. We're here dealing with a land use decision, a planning commission decision, and a zoning code decision, and a reasonable accommodation request that has elements that go outside of the personal impacts that you've faced and experiences you've had. I just want to know that we did hear you. We're extraordinarily sympathetic, and I also want to recognize the incredible bravery it took to come up here and tell us your stories. I came to speak years ago before I got on anything, and I was absolutely frozen in fear and terrified. So for you to be so personal and to share your experiences is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Dixon. Commissioner Rojas, any comments?
No comments.
Commissioner Klepek?
I just want to echo what was said, and I have no doubt the good work that's being done here. I completely understand the importance of surrounding yourself with the right people, people that are in the same place and dealing with the same issues that you are. As was said, we do make land use decisions, and it's not unlike if you invest in a short-term rental in a community and the community changes the regulations and doesn't allow short-term rentals anymore, then unfortunately there has to be a change to the business model. And I will be supporting the motion that's been posed, but I just wanted to express that I do completely support the work that's being done here. Thank you.
Commissioner Andrade, any comments on the motion?
No further comments.
Okay. I too want to thank you guys for coming and speaking. Colleagues of yours showed up and spoke 7 years ago, and I was touched then as much as I was touched tonight. What you guys are doing to address your life, to straighten out what you're trying to accomplish in this world is to be commended. At the end of the day, this is a land use decision. It's not a decision about you. It's a decision about the property and the operators of the property and the permissions that are required to operate the property. Those permissions don't exist, and there have been issues with that for years. I'll be supporting the motion, and I also support you guys, and it might not feel like that, but I do. Anna, call the question.
That motion carries 5-1 with Commissioner Andrade voting no.
And that decision is final unless appealed to the City Council within 7 days. So good luck to you guys. We have no old business tonight or new business, which takes us to departmental reports. And we'll start with Public Services Report. Mr. Yang.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Honorable members of the Planning Commission, happy autumn. Today's the first day of fall, so it's my pleasure to provide tonight's Public Works report. As Commissioner Martinez already mentioned, this coming Saturday, September 27th, City will host a community e-bike skills course at Tehuinco Middle School. And Commissioner Martinez said everything that I need to say, so I won't go any further. So that being said, it'll be held from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. this Saturday at Tehuinco Middle School. In addition to that, Commissioner Dixon also mentioned about the citywide walk audits, and also that's being done at the public elementary schools. The study started off with 7 schools with an additional 16 schools to be done. They're still in the works. This is all in an effort to update and improve the city's Safe Routes to Schools plan. And lastly, congratulations to our Transportation Division for winning the ASCE Los Angeles section for Outstanding Bikeways and Trails project for the Adams Avenue and Pine Creek Drive multimodal intersection improvements. The staff attended the awards event last Saturday at the Peterson Museum in Los Angeles, and congratulations to them for winning this prestigious award. So that concludes my report, and I defer back to Vice Chair Zick.
Thank you for your report, and don't let these guys steal your thunder next time. Development Services report, Director Tai.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Zick. So just a brief report on what's coming up on City Council. There's an appeal of the small lot subdivision at 2308 Santa Ana Avenue, and that will be heard on October 7th. Also on September 16th, the City Council did approve that minor technical code cleanup. So we'll be doing the second reading of that at October 7th. October 7th will also be when the City Council considers the Planning Commission's recommendation on the Fairview Developmental Center specific plan project description for environmental review. It's a big meeting. And then lastly, just to update the Commission on the Hive Live project, we did receive a request from the applicant to continue that to a date uncertain, and so we'll be sending out new notices when the applicant is ready to come back to the City Council. So a lot going on, but that's just my brief update tonight. Thank you so much.
Do you anticipate there being any changes to that project that would warrant another Planning Commission hearing?
Right now, thank you for that question. We don't have any indication that there's any project changes. I think what we've heard is there's property level discussions, but if there are substantial changes, they likely would come back to Planning Commission. For example, if there's a substantial alteration to the approved project, that would likely come back, but we don't have any indication of that right now.
All right, thank you. Mr. Preziosi, City Attorney report.
No report this evening, Chair Zick.
All right. Thank you for your support this evening, and I'll now adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone.